Okay, so welcome everybody. My name is Paul Staton. I run the Shamanism Play Group, which is a meetup group online created in Melbourne, Australia. There's a few people from Australia and around the world, which is really exciting. Now, I'm very excited to be just talking today with Elle, who is a lot about love and how to love yourself and create loving relationships, which therefore is a lot about self-discovery and about how to empower yourself, and especially about how to link into to feel your emotions. So I'm really excited to hear about her journey and about how she helps people. So, and she'll probably ask you questions about what's going on for you. So without any further ado, I want to introduce Elle. So welcome on, Elle.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, everybody, for being here.
My pleasure.
Yeah, so my journey started when I realized that I have been successful in business, but not in my love life. And as an entrepreneur for the past like more than 30 years, I built companies and I sold them. But then when I sold my last company, then I realized that my relationship with my partner of 10 years, it's not working in the way that I imagined it, or I was thinking that it's supposed to be. So it was a journey to understand, and mostly it was the self-discovery journey, to see exactly, to go deep and see exactly where all those thoughts and then negative belief about me in a relationship came from. Because uh, my understanding was it's always his fault, his problem. In my head was like all that stuff going on. But then when I went deep and I understood my own behavior and my actions has these reactions. And so then it was just a understanding that I didn't know what I wanted, needed, and my communication skills was not in a space of being able to communicate my needs. First of all, I didn't know what my needs were. So it took me a while to really go deep and discover myself, uh, questioning myself, even if I love myself, even if I can take care of myself in a place of loving myself, and then being able to have that interaction, not just with my partner, but with everybody around me, my original family, all the business adventures and interactions. So it was an interesting journey to get to this point. So that's where I was, and today I'm in a different space.
Can I ask you a question? So
Yeah.
how did you overcome your struggles? Because obviously that's the thing that other people probably want to know. So
Yes.
how did you overcome your struggles to love yourself? What do you feel was some of the key things that you did and discover?
Yes. So I think the first number one is that commitment that you give to yourself. So my commitment to myself after being successful, I mean, seriously, I've had a recycling company of electronics. I had like 20 people working for me. I had contract with all the cities in California. So then I said to myself, I have been doing all this stuff, but that interaction, what is here that is not working? So my commitment was to find out exactly what has been going on and what have I been doing that is wrong, or anything that I have to improve. So that commitment kind of opened my eyes and my heart to go deeper to understand myself. Took classes, took some seminars, read a lot of books, but I came through the book called Calling in the One and Conscious Uncoupling by Catherine Woodward Thomas. And I took a class with her, I became so really involved in that interaction. And I'm actually, my certifications, two of them is from her. So I'm a certified calling the one and conscious uncoupling coach. So going through that journey, I understood what was my 5% in this interaction that's why it didn't work. What was my limiting beliefs about myself from my past childhood experiences? And how am I going to go beyond that past experience and be the woman that I'm here today, not that 4 or 5 year old of the past?
So great. So given you've gone that, and we know a lot that a lot of people are hiding from themselves by being busy, by busy working, the
Yes.
workaholic stuff, to hide from themselves because they don't want to face their pain or whatever. So given you now that you have discovered yourself and loving yourself, what sort of outcomes has that brought you in your life?
Oh, it's a total change. First of all, I don't look the same because inside there's a spark of happiness, of understanding what my needs are and being able to actually communicate it lovingly to people around me, not just in a love partnership or relationship, but in any kind of interaction, being able to like sit back for 2 seconds and be able to go back or deep inside and say, okay, this would be my answer. It's not based on the past, and my answer is not based on my past experiences. It's based on today and now.
Oh, that's exciting. Yeah. So how do you, so given what you've learned now in terms of helping other people, what do you feel is unique about your approach and how you help other people commit to themselves and love themselves and create similar outcomes to what you've created for yourself?
Yes. So it's understanding where they are because I have been there. So usually people who come to me, they have that commitment deep inside, because they're exploring, they're making that
Yeah.
call or Zoom call with me. That means that they actually have made that first step. So I always congratulate them. I say, you know what, this is your first step. I congratulate you. Let's have a chat and see where you are and where you want to go. So it's a lot of people come to me and they know what they don't want, but they don't know what they want. That's in
Mm,
life, basically, in
yeah.
relation, anything. So it's just going through that, helping them really go deep inside and understand and uh, bring those ideas and the wants and the needs and those connections to themselves, to bring them out, to really become conscious about it.
Yeah. So from your experience of not only yourself and your clients, what do you feel are the main reasons people do hold limiting beliefs about themselves and feel unworthy or inadequate and not love themselves and therefore, might have that busy lifestyle like you used to have, hiding from them? What do you think the
Yes.
main reasons are that people create that game in life?
It's there is always a gain when you do that. I'll give you my example and I'll give you my story so maybe you will better understand the process. So when I was 6, my grandmother, which was my first caregiver, I'm originally from Iran. So she left, moved to US without telling me that she moved,
Wow.
that I'm not going to see her. So that kind of mm, made me assume that everybody that I love, they leave me. So in those interactions, in the love interactions, I would, as soon as something that would happen, I will leave them before they leave me because of that belief that I had. So it took me a while to really understand what is my limiting belief. And it was, yeah, nobody loves me, everybody leaves me. Those were mine. Uh, and now, I mean, I can smile about it because I understand that that was my assumption based on that interaction with my past as a young child that I was. So everybody's limiting beliefs are different. Some are similar, but it
Yeah.
has to come to the space that they will, like, light bulb goes on and you totally understand
Yeah.
where you have been.
Cool. So in terms of with your clients, what sort of processes do you take them through? Is it one-on-one or is it coaching or do you do courses or what sort of process do you use to help your clients?
So yes, I have worked with clients one-on-one, but I'm launching my group coaching program in March, and that's why we had a um, workshop last week on after Valentine's Day, and it's a 3-month program that they look at. I mean, the 1 hour a week that we get together, it's only for like 4 to 6 people to be in that group. So it's going to be a small group. And how we're going to work is I give them, I call it heart work. So they will listen to videos. They have some journaling to do, and we get together and then we process whatever has come up for them. And I also offer them, I mean, also a laser coach. So it will be a one-on-one, basically on that limiting belief that they have. So we do one-on-one so we can really go deep. And one before last is going to be a laser coaching, is a basically interaction with me so they can visualize where they want to be in their life, in their relationship, making money, any kind of space that they want to be with that. Because I believe that you can have it all: good health, good relationships, and make lots of money.
Cool. Sounds excellent. All right. We might open up to other people. So if anybody else wants to ask a question or make a comment, you can just put your hand up if you like, a reaction, or just turn on your microphone. Anybody got any questions? I'm sure Anna Marie will have a question. Yeah. You got a question, Anna Marie?
I actually didn't quite get, and I was going to write it in the messages, what program you followed. You mentioned it, but I couldn't quite get how you started. How did you start learning about yourself? Which course was it that you did?
It's a book called Calling in the One.
Calling in the One.
The One.
Thank you. Yeah, just thinking this idea of someone and the forming of a negative belief in your mind about being left. I mean, it did happen to me with my dad dying when I was 18, and it was so sudden. He died of a heart attack. And this idea of leaving people before they leave you, it is, it resonates quite strongly. And yeah, it would be interesting to hear more about that and yeah, and how you, yeah, I mean, of course, you work on yourself and finding out who you are. But yeah, how do you actually work with that belief?
Yes. So there are, I mean, the interaction, my clients, it's the tools that I use to help them go deeper and find out exactly what made them. Yes, we have, consciously we understand the story, but then deeply, what did it make you feel? So it's a lot about going deep, putting your hand on your heart. I mean, I go through that exercise with them, and I ask them, how do you feel? I be asked as it's a younger self work that I do with them. So Anna Marie, that 18-year-old, the 17-year-old, we go back to that space and say, okay, how did you feel? How do you feel? And then we go through the feeling, we go through the emotions, and then we bring you back today as a 40-year-old woman, 50-year-old. What is the difference between you today and that 18-year-old? So it's a process.
Yes, and well, in a sense, the tool, yeah, it is similar to the tools that also Paul is using. So it's like then you are actually, as a grown-up, you are bringing light into what happened, and you're bringing consciousness to it, and the very act of bringing consciousness to it makes it come out of the shadow and therefore make it dissipate.
I don't think it will dissipate. It will come in and out till that 18-year-old become that 40-year-old woman one day, because some incident that happened again, we go through life, stuff happens. So if you ask yourself okay, so why am I sad today? Or what has happened that brought that feeling today? Is it because of this interaction? Is it because of that? Did it took me back to, it's a process that I teach you how to kind of question yourself when you get to that space, and maybe it takes a day sometimes to get out of that space. And then eventually it will take you 5 minutes because you know exactly how to ask those questions of yourself.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
A comment I just want to make, because Anna Marie is one of my students, so that's why she's making those comments. Because one thing
That's
I do,
great.
because one thing I do in my teachings is helping people understand why things happen. Because quite often, especially as healers, we actually go through experiences.
So why things happen?
Yeah, why things happen, right? And by understanding why things happened from a bigger picture perspective, it takes off a lot of the pain and suffering. Because, I believe that quite often as healers, we go through deep experiences to learn things so we can be of service. So it's actually not a personal thing, whereas we tend to take it personal, and that's where the suffering comes in. Like for me personally, like I had a lot of issues with self-worth because I had a narcissistic father. And therefore I had issues around relationships too, because I didn't see a loving relationship from my perspective between my parents. But I feel I went through that for a reason, because I help a lot of people with self-worth, know how to deal with narcissistic controlling people. So, and when you understand that why it happens from a bigger perspective, it can help you understand that experience of, I'm rejecting people because I'm scared of being rejected. Right. And I know, because I've played that game as well. Right.
Yeah, it's a game. But you know something? I believe that we are here for a reason. We all have our own purpose.
Yeah.
So if my purpose has been to understand this, forgive my grandmother, forgive myself, forgive people, my ex in that interaction, and forgive myself to be in that space for 10 years, then okay, what am I doing now? What is my contribution to people around me? That's why I came out of that space of, I'm still an entrepreneur, so I still have to kind of question myself. Am I having fun after doing all this work or not? But this is really a different space for me, and I love what I do now because it's different. The feeling is different. If you asked me like a year and a half ago to be on Zoom or be on Instagram and do videos, there was no way for me to do it. But then because of my intention of having my word come out there and like help other people, then I wanted to get to this space to be comfortable to talk among people and then be on video and put Instagram videos out there and Facebook and all that stuff. So it's the intention that I had to be in this place. It's the commitment to myself. And yes, it's sometimes it's uncomfortable, but then you go beyond that. And then after 10 videos, I'm ready to go.
Yeah, really cool. So Bing, I know you just come back in, Bing, but we're asking, we're opening up to questions. So Bing, if you've got any questions about, about loving yourself or how to create loving relationships, or any other questions that you might want to ask her, you can free to unmute yourself and ask.
Paul, I have a question,
Thanks,
and
Anne.
it is for Elle.
Cool.
Are
Sure.
there a certain number, and 500, 700 things that are common that people, when they're getting to the point where they're knowing themselves and loving themselves and digging themselves out of that deep hole that you described, are there common elements like being abandoned? I think is one of them, but I don't know if there's other common things, and if there are, can you identify what those are?
Good question.
Yes. So one thing that is almost everybody that I coach is putting healthy boundaries with other people. So we think if we put boundaries, the assumption is that, oh my God, then that means that I'm like, I love myself so much that I don't love the other person. But it's not about that. The understanding of putting healthy boundaries is to ask yourself if you're comfortable to be in this situation, if you're comfortable to, I don't know, go to this party, if you're comfortable to make food tonight. I mean, there's so questioning yourself if you're comfortable. And then if you say, okay, you know what, I'm not comfortable, I'm comfortable maybe 40%, but not the rest, then you won't do it. If you're comfortable 70% and say, okay, tonight I will do it. So it's just having that interaction with yourself that is loving and giving yourself that time. A lot of people, it's automatic. They don't even ask themselves a question if they want to do it or not. Anything, doesn't matter what it is. So I help my clients to give that space to themselves, to ask themselves that question. So that's the first thing. When you ask that question and put the boundary, and that means that you love yourself and that you really want to take care of yourself. And as a whole, if we don't take care of ourselves, how can we take care of other people around us? That was a big, huge understanding for me.
So going from your grandmother leaving you, growing through that, and into setting boundaries, there were some steps that you took. Do you want to describe those?
Sure. So I would give, just because, more and more without kind of respecting myself to other people, so they won't leave me, so they would love me. That was the mistake, because then that means that I didn't honor myself, and they wouldn't honor me either in that interaction. But now that I ask myself question, if I wanted to do it, if I want to go, I don't know, go for a walk with these people, what do I feel if I go? Would that make me feel good or not? I mean, it's just very simple questions that you can ask yourself. So give yourself that space and time and kindness that you want to receive from other people. That's the key to get that interaction and those loving people to bring those to that. I mean, I believe that we are here to love and be loved.
I think, I mean, I can relate to what you're saying, Elle. It's really powerful. And part of it for me is understanding that to stop looking for external validation, because, you know,
Yes.
that's a big, you know, become a people pleaser. And therefore we're always worrying about what other people think about us, right? Whereas what you're saying, if you're really committed to yourself and love yourself, then in a way you come detached to what other people perceive. See, when I left university, you know, as a teacher, professor, to go and do healing, all my family thought I was totally ridiculous and stupid. But I said, no, I'm following my passion. But I was committed enough to myself. I didn't listen to what they said. That was their stuff, actually. So that not looking for validation outside of yourself, and as you're saying, being committed to yourself. Because those people who really respect you will allow you to do what's good for you, and they won't judge you. It's an important point.
Yeah. And I mean, being very open, communicative in a loving way. I had a client, she decided to uncouple from her partner. But then the partner was at the, like, before they go to bed, he wanted to have that discussion. And the discussion would always get to a space of argument. So I asked her, I said, so when it gets to that space, how would you like to handle it? Let's say you go home tonight, this happens again. What would you, and she would go into stories of, oh, if I say that, he says this, and I said, so can I make a suggestion? Think about it, this interaction this way, would it work for you? And she said, okay. I said, okay. So when he started talking about, you know, what has happened, or doesn't, whatever it is that he's going to talk about, and you don't want to talk about that because you can't sleep after that, then you have headache in the morning, then you can't see your client. I mean, there's like stuff happens after that, then you don't respect yourself. So I said, how about asking him that, you know, I understand you want to have this conversation right now, but it seems that I have a bunch of clients that I have to see tomorrow, and I really need 10 o'clock, past 10 o'clock, and I would be appreciated if you would wait so we can talk tomorrow morning, or at lunchtime, or after work, or this at 5, I don't know, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Would that work for you? Because I would appreciate it if that happens. So I don't have to miss my morning clients. And I said, so how about if you do it this way? If you ask him this way, instead of starting the argument, and because it's not going to go anywhere, because everybody has their own, they're not listening to each other, they're just listening to themselves. So there's ways that you can interact, there's ways that you can communicate based on knowing yourself and knowing what you want and respecting yourself.
Oh, does that answer your question, Anne? Or you want to add on to that?
Sure. Yep. Do I want to add to that?
Yeah. Or
Is that your question to me?
Yeah, that's my question to you.
Well, I think that there are ways, if you know I'm going to say the routine, that's maybe not the right word, but if you know where something is headed and you can learn how to head it off at the pass, if you like, then yeah, I think that that's brilliant. That you stop and you think, where is this going? And where can I stop this conversation and start the one that I want to have in order to be able to get to an end that I think will be mutually agreeable. But then you have to stop and you have to say, the other person that's involved in this, what is it that they get out of having an argument? And how do they, and are they going to just push until there's an argument and something happens. So what did they get out of it? And how am I feeding into that to give them what they want? And do I want to be part of this scenario? So
Exactly.
how do you help them to understand the other person's perspective or the other person's desire to move into something that you don't want to go into?
So that other person usually not as conscious. So we cannot talk to them in a way that is their issue or their fault, or that's what's going to happen. You just have to say, this is what I want right now. And I would appreciate it if we talk tomorrow morning. You cannot go interact with that person when, because they haven't worked on themselves. They're still in that space of the past for themselves, not from today. So they argue because there's getting something out of it. Exactly what you said. Yeah.
Can I use an example of myself to
Sure.
illustrate this point? See, one thing my dad used to do to me was be very angry, which scared the shit out of me as a kid. And I knew he could control me. So when I learned and became more conscious, I said to Dad, if you ever get angry, I'm going to hang up on the phone. I'm going to walk away, because I've realized you can't have a discussion with an angry person because they're temporarily insane. And then one day he got really angry, and I said, I'm going to walk away. You're going to choose to be angry, or we're going to have a discussion? And he just dropped the anger game straight away, because he knew that I wasn't going to be involved in it.
Exactly. So you have
Yeah.
to stand on where you are, the intention of who you are. You have to stand by what you say. You cannot change your mind. You cannot say, okay, this time you have to stay your ground. Yeah.
And I'm
Exactly.
going to tell you about another example. Was I was on the other side, and because I'm quite an early morning person, and my girlfriend, she doesn't wake up until she has a shower. And once I wanted to talk about something as soon as I woke up, and she wasn't in the space, so I realized, to honor her, I never talked to her about anything serious until after she's had a shower, to honor her space. Because she's one of those people who doesn't wake up early. Like, it takes a long time. Like, well, I'm up at 5 o'clock, right? So
Yeah.
that's how I applied that to honor her, and also in a way to honor me, because I couldn't really have a discussion with her when she's still half asleep. So in a way, it was honoring both of us. Because I think if you honor other people, you also honor yourself. You do. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful.
Good question. Hallie, do you want to say anything? You've been pretty quiet there in the background. Are you just listening, or you still there?
Yes, I'm here. Yes.
Have you got any
Like,
points you'd like to make, or any questions you'd like to ask?
oh, I'm just listening. Thank you.
Where's your accent from?
I'm originally from Tehran, Iran. I came to America when I was in 3rd grade, and I've been here ever since.
Yeah. So is there anything about relationships you'd like to talk about?
Okay, let's see. Okay, we're doing this. Okay. Well, I'll share my own experiences with all the stuff you're saying. I'm actually happily married to my soulmate, to my king right now. But before that, I've had a lot of relationship issues and struggles. I met the wrong guys, and I was in wrong relationships. And it was all about the self-worth and the self-love. My dad wasn't, he was busy at that time, and he was never at home. It was a while back, back in Iran. He worked with the Shah. So by him not being there, it built on the subconscious mind. It led me to choose the wrong man. So I was in a physical abuse marriage for 4 years, domestic violence. Lucky to be alive, lucky to be here. And I learned that once you connect with yourself, I mean, people from the outside were trying to guide me and help me, but I didn't listen. The only thing that helped me was to go within and really connect and journal and ask for what I want. And that actually is how the doors opened for years. And I was consistent and persistent. I didn't give up asking. I was my own best friend and asking. And yes, I did read tons of books. I did go to therapy, and but the therapist, as soon as he wanted to put me on medication and stuff, I'm like, no, I'm not seeking any of that. I tuned out of all of them. And then I said, I'll do it myself, because it's being the holistic health thing. That's what it is. So once you love who you are, and that's where it all begins. And that's why I honor what Coach Elle says, because everything that she does and says, it's the root cause of everything. And I value that, because it is important at that time. I mean, I was in relationships back to back and not really happy. Yes. So, and it wasn't about the relationship, it was the love for myself, because I didn't love myself. I didn't appreciate who I am and what I was. I kept on criticizing myself. So thank you.
Thank you.
Elle, do you want to respond to that? Anything you would like to add to what she said?
Yes, I mean, self-journey, self-discovery is the key, as Hala was saying. So she did it on her own. She went to therapy. So it's different ways of finding yourself, but that intention at the beginning, that you make sure you actually tell yourself, okay, this is not the space that I want to be. There's light in the end of the tunnel. So if you have that, then that means that you eventually are going to get to that space. Yes, it needs a lot of going within, understanding who you are, what has happened in the past, what's the assumption that you had from that interaction, and forgiving yourself, forgiving those people that, I mean, they really had no idea what they're doing. That was their assumption from their own past experiences.
I just like to add in one other point, and then we'll get you to make a comment. It's quite interesting when people say, I attracted the wrong men. And in a way, that's actually not being totally committed to yourself for what you're creating to learn. Because I always believe we always create the perfect experiences for us to learn. It mightn't be what we want right now, but in a way, whatever we create in our life, and if we honor every experience that we create, that's a form of self-love. You know, if we feel bad about ourselves because we created something in a way that's a form of self-abuse. And it's a bit like Elle said, it's about, yeah, we go through these experiences and it helps us go to the other side. Because I'm sure in all those relationships you talked about, how that you learned a lot, which has enabled you to be the lady you are today. Yeah.
Yeah. We
Yeah,
learn from our experience.
Yeah. Anne, did you want to make a comment?
Well, it's more like I want to ask a question. So
Okay.
if we're finished with this part of the conversation, then I can start. Otherwise, I'll wait.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think Bink has a question on the chat.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
she said, what does it mean? Yeah, what does it mean when you say love yourself? So it means that I'll give you an exercise and see how would it make you feel. It's a mirror exercise. So I invite you to, when you wake up in the morning, when you wash your face and look in the mirror, look into your eyes and tell you, you're so beautiful, you're perfect, I love you, and see if you can do that. Because a lot of us, and I was in that space before as well, when there is no self-love, we cannot be truthful to and look into our eyes and say, I love you. And it's the best exercise. I had a client who couldn't do it for at least a month. And then eventually he could do it, because then what happens for him was he thought that he's a bad person because of the past experiences, those interactions with his father in the past. So we make our assumptions based on our own experiences. And then the self-love has to be there deeply when you want to attract that kind, loving person to yourself. Because I give you another example. When you go to, when you traveling and on the plane, when you sit there, they say, you know, the stewardess comes and say, when there is a turbulence, any kind of emergencies, put the oxygen mask on yourself first, and then the person next to you. Even if it's a child, the best thing to put that oxygen mask on yourself. So imagine if you can do that. And how does that make you feel? That self-love in the morning, I love you, see how it makes you feel. Any anger, any kind of sadness, anything that comes up, we can work on.
Cool. Comment for Haley. She said this is the best exercise to do every day, every morning and every night. So she already does it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we might go back to Anne now, because Anne had a point that she wanted to talk about. So Anne, do you want to bring that up now?
Yeah.
Well, I'm so curious about the different generations, because as we were growing up, each of us, we grew up in a different time or space of time. And then the next generation, and they grew up. And it seems to me that the issues that people would face, depending on which generation they were in, might be quite different. So the Gen Xers, the kids that are coming up now, might have something very different than the what do you call baby boomers. So I wondered if you would have an insight into that.
With my experience, self-love, if it's not there, it doesn't matter how old and which kind of generation you have been. I had a client that, you know, he said that I'm in this relationship with this lady for 3 months. And now she's ghosting me. She doesn't answer me. And I said, okay, so tell me about the relationship. Let me know how is it working for you. And he said, you know, we have been texting. So for 3 months, they have been texting. Make it short. The girl lived 2 hours away, and I asked him. I said, what would be the best interaction with the person that you want to know better and have a relationship? Oh, to take her out to lunch. I said, did you ever ask her to go? Let's go to lunch, or let's have coffee, or let's have dinner, so you can meet her face to face? And no. And I said, so then there was no relationship here. So let's look at it and see why you think that you text this person for 3 months and you were in a relationship. What is the relationship with yourself? Let's look at that. I mean, and he's a young 22-year-old man. It's the same thing, self-love. There's nothing, and he's asking the outside, that woman, to.
But would that be true for all generations then? Because to me, that group of people don't actually know how to speak to each other. They know how to, use their thumb, but to have something come out of their mouth, that's a totally different thing. And you can nail it down to self-love, but you can also nail it down to what's going on in that generation space, what they learned, how they communicate, and how they talk to each other.
Yes, exactly. So that's why there is more depression going on at this time, because of that, because the interactions are not genuinely face-to-face. It's not genuinely the way that the older generation, we interacted. So they on the phone, on social media, and they're not interacting genuinely. So because you can hide behind the phone, you can hide behind the social media, and you're not able to actually express yourself with feelings. Yeah, it's a different world, it's different generation, but self-love still. And then when we dig deeper, that was the interaction he had with his parents. The father was not very interactive. So it's all about every 99% of stuff that happens, and our limiting beliefs are mostly happen in our younger times. Yeah.
And of course, it's not just across generations, it's also within cultures. And, you know, for example, like I deal with a lot of people from a lot of different cultures. And for instance, if you look at someone from Indian culture, and there's certain expectations on women, right? And I'll give an example, like one of my clients, she's a health practitioner, but her whole family expects her at the age of 31 to be married with 2 kids, right? Now, she is loving herself by expanding and doing healing, but her family expects her to be doing other things. And that's where it's really challenging for her to love herself based on what she wants, based on a lot of pressure from the culture.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then even from, you know, my own experience, because my girlfriend's from Kenya, is around understanding how you love yourself in relation to different cultures, because different cultures love themselves in different ways, and how you respect.
Yes, I mean,
yeah, so that's very
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Different cultures, food is a way of showing love. They cook for you, yeah.
Especially Greek culture. Yeah. I love cooking food. Yeah.
Yeah, the Persian culture is the same way. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, another lady just turned up, Pamela, so it's probably a good chance. Why don't you summarize, Elle, what do you think the core messages you have for people around self-love? If you had to summarize that, what are the core messages you have for people? Then Pamela might have a question.
Yes. So I invite everyone to have that understanding and opening themselves up to love themselves first, and then open their heart so the other people can, uh, love them as well. Because it's the key is to love yourself first and open your heart to other people to come to your life. And of course, with those people who have be very communicative, loving, in loving way, communicating lovingly, and also have healthy boundaries. So questioning yourself every step to get to a point that it becomes automatic.
Oh, love it. Pamela, have you got any questions? Because we're near at the ending of this. So Pamela, if you've got any questions about relationships or about your personal situation, you can free to bring them up now. You can unmute yourself, Pamela, if you want to ask a question. Or
no, I don't have any questions at the moment, but thank you for offering.
oh, that's cool. That's cool. Okay. So, Elle, is there anything else that you'd like to add that you haven't said?
I do have a gift, and I wanted to, I have a self-discovery journal that I can, I can put a link on the chat here.
Right.
Also, I have a limiting belief quiz about relationship and love, and life. So if you'd like to take that, I'd be happy to give you a half an hour session with me so we can go through it and see what we can discover.
Fantastic. So, Elle, if you can put those into the chat room now, and maybe any other links that how people can get in touch with you, that would be really cool.
Sure.
And just while you're doing that, I'm just going to let people know that Anne here is, I'm actually interviewing her next week. And Anne is from the Thankful movement. Now, I know I'm putting Anne on the spot here. Anne, did you want to say anything about the thankful movement? Just to get
Well, I'm-
people
Yeah. I'm just
interested?
going to follow up from what Elle has said.
Yeah.
I don't think that you can truly be thankful for others unless you have a tremendous respect and love for yourself. Because what you do is you see a reflection of, I'm going to say a reflection of yourself, but it's really not of yourself. It's a reflection of the magnificence of the other person. And that's what being thankful to me is, helping that person to see all of who they are through your eyes, and actually through their own eyes as well. Does that
Yes.
sort of wrap it up? Thanks, Hillel. That's great. Thank you.
That's
Yeah,
good.
beautiful.
That's going to be great. So,
Now that I've said the whole thing, I guess I don't have to be interviewed next week, right?
yeah, but people want to know what's underneath all that, right? And of course, I'll just add into that comment because, you know, when you're thankful for other people, what you see in other people's in yourself. So by actually acknowledging and being grateful to other people and what they're giving to you is actually a mirror of yourself, right? You're actually at the same time, you're actually loving yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just want to thank everyone for coming today and participating, and I really want to thank Elle for giving her time and explaining what she's learned on her journey and how she can help people. And the links that she's put into the chat room, I'll put them under the replay of the video, which might be on some of Elle's platforms and also in the Shamanism Playgroup. I'll put them in there. So thank you, Elle. Thanks everyone for your time. And
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
enjoy I know I think it's Friday night in the States or Canada, but it's lunchtime in Saturday in Australia. So yeah, thanks very much, Elle, for your time.
Yeah, it's 6:30. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Paul, for putting this together. Thank you, everybody, for the wonderful questions and listening. And I'm grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Paul.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Good
Okay,
night.
see ya.
Bye. Good night.